I want to mention one other thing that is on the horizon that people are only beginning to pay attention to, and that's the need to regulate the cryptocurrency markets. We're looking at not only states such as China or Russia or others manipulating technology of all kinds to their advantage. We're looking at non-state actors, either in concert with states or on their own, destabilizing countries, destabilizing the dollar as the reserve currency. There are so many big questions that the Biden administration must address. I just don't think we have much time, and therefore I hope from everything I'm hearing from them that that's exactly what they're going to try to do.
For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
Okay, so what that means is if you have money in your bank account and the new rule is you're not allowed to transact further than 5 kilometers from your home, your card won't work more than 5 kilometers from your home. If they don't want you buying pizza, you can't buy pizza with money in your bank account or with your card. It is complete control, and it solves the taxation without representation problem, because if they want more taxes, they just come take it out of your account.
Inflation is transitory in the same way that 15 days will flatten the curve. Because the Fed is not our financial advisor. It is a marriage of the banking industry and the government.
So when the World Economic Forum said it's 2030, you have no assets and you're happy, what I hear is it's 2030, we took all of your assets and you're mind controlled. We are at a fork in the road. One road leads to slavery, the other road leads to freedom, and you have to decide which side you're on.
You can shove your vaccine mandates up your ass. You can shove your vaccine mandates up your ass. You can shove your vaccine mandates. Shove your vaccine mandates. Shove your vaccine mandates up your ass.
That's right. Welcome to Toxic Airwaves. And you can shove your vaccine mandates up your ass.
Solid intro. I like that.
Dude, heavy week.
Yeah.
Heavy week. They're starting to roll in with this, really pushing social credit in the West. And it's pretty concerning, for sure. Yeah.
It is.
Well, the cathedral is burning.
Yes, it is. Raging Inferno. It's fun to watch.
It is fun to watch, but it is also getting increasingly more dangerous. So that's something to keep on the horizon. But yeah, I titled tonight's episode, Censorship is the Cathedral's Last Hope. We know that there's going to be a lot of censorship. We've already seen it. It started with the corporate press, really trying to go and put up headlines and then edit stories without doing an official retraction. It starts with revising history. That's been something that's happened for a long time. And, it's kind of moving into other areas. I mean, we know Twitter, Facebook, they've been pretty ridiculous. YouTube, our good friends at YouTube that believe the climate is real. Have been pretty heavy-handed with the censorship for a while, but I think it's going to get crazy. But yeah, curious what your thoughts are.
I think they're going to keep crying harder and harder as they lose control of the narrative. And I think it's going to be interesting. But
yeah, it's kind of interesting. I forgot where I heard this, but this week it was talking about when the printing press came out, how they tried to censor people from printing books in England. You could go to prison if you printed a book. And in a matter of like 50 years, the amount of books in circulation went from 12,000 hand copied books predominantly done by the Catholic Church to like 4 million in circulation throughout Europe. So that was a pretty crazy transition, but I feel like that's where we're at right now. Same idea, but yeah. So let's hop into it. So does Bitcoin destabilize government?
Unquestionably, it does. Yes.
I don't know.
Part of the destabilize?
Well, you could say that it does, but yeah, elaborate. What do you think?
I think it causes a tremendous amount of chaos and turmoil, and I mean, it's like all these. I forget. I don't remember where I heard this, but it was. You know what it was on? It was on, which everyone should listen to. Britt Kelly went on Kaz's podcast. Which one is his? I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but anyway, check out that podcast, because one of the things they go into a lot is just how clear it is that there's this one objective truth, and that we have the opportunity to respond to that or not. And it's like that, it's bigger than Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's certainly a piece of that. And they just, I don't know, they spent a lot of time on that idea, and I thought it was fascinating. And it was, the example they used was Bitcoin itself, that Bitcoin just exists. It does what it does. TikTok, next block, all these memes that we've all heard and repeated a billion different times. And it just keeps going. And, that pisses off Hillary Clinton, obviously. That pisses off, that beach ball from the Bank of International Settlements, which was founded with Nazi money. A lot of people aren't aware of that. And Down the Rabbit Hole. Thank you, Lurk. Yeah, Down the Rabbit Hole with Kaz. That's a great podcast. And that episode he had with Britt Kelly recently, I thought was particularly good. Definitely worth checking out. But it's just like that idea, and it's one of the things they talked about that I thought was so interesting, and I hadn't thought about it as much in this way, but just how much Bitcoin reveals people who have not aligned themselves with the truth, and how much Bitcoin reveals people who are trying to live outside of natural law. They're trying to live outside of incentives. They're trying to live outside of all these objective realities that are around us if we care to look. And it just exposes them as just absolute frauds. And I don't know. I thought that was super interesting. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's a good podcast. Definitely check that out. And it sounds like they're going to do a couple more, so I'm excited for that. I think further episodes would be awesome.
Nice. Yeah, we're lagging super bad right now. I am never going to use Restream again. I am so over it. I think they're the problem this week, and we're just going to stream straight to YouTube next week, and I think that'll be better. That'll fix our problem.
I currently have a Kraken trading bot going on your Wi-Fi doing Shiba Inu trades. I don't know if that's part of it or not, but I was very happy to see Kraken listed Shiba Inu this week. A lot of people talking about Lightning withdrawals, but I think listing a somehow shittier version of a dog coin is a much higher priority, so I applaud them for those efforts.
Yeah, good job to Kraken. They waited until after the rug pull on Shiba Inu to list it. But yeah, on the topic of like destabilizing governments, I guess it's fair. I mean, in the sense of it being offensive in any way, shape, or form, Bitcoin is not an offensive technology. It's not going after the state necessarily, like coming up with an army and marching to the gates of the Capitol type situation. But because Bitcoin allows people to opt out from government, that in itself is, I guess, destabilizing for it. So I could see the argument for it, because government is a monopoly. It's a monopoly on violence. It only exists because of force. And when you route around that force in a creative way where people don't have to, be accountable to it in the same way, and have this amazingly powerful asymmetric technology that they can't control, they can't, if you use it right, they can't trace, and they can't seize, it's incredibly threatening to their power and destabilizing, especially when people are being pushed towards having to escape because the system is so terrible when they're inflating the currency just with massive amounts and stealing everybody's wealth. When the corruption gets so absurd that, your normal average person is like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't afford Thanksgiving dinner, and the Fed is telling me to eat soy-based plants. Like, so I guess in that way it's destabilizing. But a lot of people, have really never thought of the idea that the government is the aggressor, and it's the initial aggressor. That the social contract theory is really stupid. And governments only come into existence because of conquest, and only continue to exist because of violence. So, yeah, I guess that's fair.
And I think these people too have just decades and decades, centuries of experience being feared and hated. That's what they're accustomed to. If you woke up to Hillary Clinton and you said, "Hey, I hate you," or "Trump should have won," blah, whatever. Like, that's something they're totally within their wheelhouse. Totally comfortable in that environment. They're used to it. They've been doing it for decades. I think what they're starting to experience that has them pretty freaked out is not fear and hatred, but just complete disregard and mockery. And I mean, that's one of the things we've talked about is like how important it is to just treat these people with absolutely blatant disrespect as much as possible, and mockery, and laugh at them, and, intentionally push the conversation way outside the control of their narrative. Like, Ted Cruz says Bitcoin mining is cool. Fire back with, "You're complicit in murdering children overseas." I mean, it's just like these, I don't think they're accustomed for that tool set. Like, facts, has to be truthful for it to work, I think, which it definitely is with Ted Cruz. But it's just like, I think that's what really has them going, is they don't have a lot of experience just being completely mocked and treated as irrelevant. And, Hillary Clinton says, "We have to get this under control." And it's like, bitch, it's already outside your control. There's no, like, Blue Wallet's open source. Bitcoin Core is free. $30 worth of hardware at a pawn shop will run everything you could possibly want to do on the Bitcoin network. It's like, it's out there. It's already done. And, what we're waiting on is people to wake up to that, and people to learn how to use it and things like that. And so I don't know. I think as that ramps up more and more, there's going to be a lot more turmoil, but it's also going to be a lot more fun to watch. I'm anticipating.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to the pawn shops.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah, seriously. You don't need a fucking brand new Raspberry Pi. Just walk into a pawn shop, pay cash for some shitty old computer, throw Bitcoin Core on it, you're good to go.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll know when we've really hit a point of hyper-Bitcoinization, when the pawn shops are full of Raspberry Pis. I think that'll be the moment.
That they're stocking it, yeah.
Yeah.
And pies are great. I'm just saying it can be a lot cheaper than most people think it is. That's my only point.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's see. I'm going to see if this freezes the computer. I'm going to hit record. Man, we're having as many problems tonight as they do over... Oh, it did freeze the recording. Gosh darn it. Hopefully they can still hear us. Do I think fertilizer shortages get worse? End up having a significance in the U.S.? Probably.
Yeah, that I don't know a lot about, but I would expect the supply chain stuff does not get better for quite a while.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or EU. EU's fucked. Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Yeah, they're not doing too hot over there. I don't know. I mean, when you look at fertilizer, they're using... What the hell is up with their stream? Okay.
Somebody on YouTube, tell us if it looks like dog shit or if it's decent.
No, it just keeps on freezing.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't see the supply chain issues getting better either. Yeah, Restream is going in the trash next week.
It's all good.
Fertilizer. Well, yeah, I mean, the thing about fertilizer is it comes from like the biggest companies in the world, like the Monsantos, which is now owned by Bayer, and they use it to kind of corner the agricultural market and control it. So, I mean, I feel like there's a priority there, but I think the food infrastructure is going to be targeted in specific ways. Like they're going to go after beef and stuff like that. Fertilizers used to, make all their soy bullshit that they're telling us to eat for Thanksgiving. So I don't think that will necessarily be as big of an issue as, maybe some other things. But I just can't help but think this is coordinated. We could totally see that being an issue. I mean, farmers are screwed in so many ways. And if the price of natural gas keeps on rising, fertilizer companies, OPEX goes to the moon.
That I did not know. That's a good fun fact from Don. I don't know anything about the relationship between natural gas and fertilizer.
Yeah, I don't either. The Haber-Bosch. Okay, Zorn's got some stuff.
Zorn dropping fun facts in the chat too. Look at that.
The Haber-Bosch process is an artificial nitrogen fixation process and is the main industrial procedure for the production of ammonia today. It is named after the inventors, who were German chemists Fritz Haber and Karl Bosch. Interesting. Yeah, shortages occur and food prices increase. Well, there's no way food prices are going down.
Yeah.
Soren says there's no...
Steaks at Costco that were $10 a pound less than a year ago are $20 a pound today. I think they were like basic New York strips or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the meat prices are absolutely absurd, what's been going on with those. It's really alarming because what's going to happen is there's going to be social unrest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what follows these increased prices of food. I feel like that's how they're going to get what they want. They just need the right person to... look what they tried to do with January 6th.
Yeah.
And what they have been able to do with January 6th. Like, they're going to try and do something like that in the future as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, There's just, I didn't realize until recently how many of those people are being held without bail. A lot of them have been in some, DC jail since January without any bail, without anything.
Shout out to George Bush.
Yeah.
Good old Patriot Act. Yeah. Never go to D.C. ever, so you never have an opportunity to get in a D.C. jail.
Absolutely.
Your face is frozen. Well, I guess it's a mostly audio podcast tonight. So yeah, Hillary went on Maddow. So kind of going back to like...
Oh, is that what show it was on?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Going back to the topic you were talking about, it was like these people are comfortable with being hated and feared and talking about going on the worst show in the world, Rachel Maddow, to just espouse a bunch of bullshit like that.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, and it's like these clips get watched by more people who hate them than by actual people who watch the show. There's very good reason to think like the numbers on these things are totally fabricated. And it's like, I don't know. Although I did meet someone a while ago who watches MSNBC 5 days a week, and it was, oh my God, you talk about getting out of a conversation as soon as possible. Like it doesn't even fit in my brain how somebody could do that.
Where did you meet a person like that?
Oh, where was this? It was at where did I meet this person? I think it was probably at like a get together or something like that. I don't know. Like what somebody invited their dumbass friend or something.
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't be friends with somebody that... Yeah. That's been something that I've been struggling with. So like one of the things that Catherine Austin Fitts said is like, we're in a position right now where you have to pick a side. Like there's no middle ground right now. It's Team Freedom against Team. Don says people that watch MSNBC are all over Texas.
Yeah,
true.
Well, the people that watch only Fox News are maybe 2% better, if that. Even that might be a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go off on conservatives tonight. I've been loading up on some ammunition. So, but yeah, what was I saying?
That Catherine Fitts.
Yeah, Catherine Austin Fitts was talking about you have to pick a side right now, and it's totally true. Like things are not getting polarized because of social media, in the sense of like I think social media is a great tool used by the intelligence agencies to really confuse people and make things really difficult. But we're getting polarized because it's a divide and conquer campaign. And ultimately what it comes down to is stepping out of this bullshit, right versus left, and being on Team Freedom versus Team slavery, Team Tyranny. And I really struggle to be around people right now that struggle to see that. Zorn says, which side is Bitcoin on? I'm on that one.
Freedom.
Yeah. Until Bitcoin, is used as a tyrannical tool, which, there might be tyrannical aspects of it eventually, but I think it's ultimately going to be a tool for freedom in the same way the internet is a tool for freedom. The printing press traditionally has always been a tool for freedom. I think Bitcoin fits into that as a technology, but I struggle, with people that are just like totally oblivious to what's happening right now, and kind of just tacitly support what's going on. It's kind of demoralizing to be around people like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the stakes are really high. It's like you're watching your community getting destroyed right now.
That's true.
Because of inflation, like crime's through the roof. They just shut down a bunch of small businesses. Suicide rates are through the roof. Like, violence and, craziness is just going up and up and up. And it's like, do you guys think that just sitting here and doing nothing is gonna, things are gonna magically get better? And are you unaware of like the things that they just took so much control over people's lives, and they're just increasing control over people's lives. And it's like, as a person that, is trying to fight this, it kind of feels like people that are just ambivalent are, essentially supporting the system and supporting a system that's going to try and put me in a gulag, is the way I think of it, and why I struggle to be around people like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that, I don't know. And it's like one silver lining that I see is that it's like the people who have the capacity to wake up and are accessible, they are waking up, and they're going, I mean, I don't know. I guess I think back to like what especially spring of 2020 did to a lot of people. Like I've mentioned this person before, but I, personally know somebody who, mid 2019 was, so 2016, this person was excited about Hillary Clinton. Like, this is the future of the country. Campaign for them, donate, the whole thing. Even 2019, we're in a state of, it's like, oh man, this country would be so much better if we would have gotten Hillary elected, blah, blah, the whole thing, the whole blue pill. And then 2020 happened, and it's like now this person, will say things like Bill Gates can shove the vaccine up his ass. And that's obviously a very small minority, but it's like these things are getting, significant enough to wake up enough a certain kind of minority of people, and that I really enjoy seeing, and like connecting with those people, because it's, I know people who, they'll look down on people who just recently got into Bitcoin. It's like, oh, you've only been in since 2020. Well, I've been here since 2016, whatever, all this nonsense. And it's like that, I think it's just the most retarded thing ever, because it's like, no, the second, I mean, it's kind of like how the evangelical Christians look at somebody getting saved. Like, I think that's roughly our model for bringing people into Bitcoin, is it's like, okay, you've got it, you're here, you're buying Bitcoin, you're using it, you're opting out, you're figuring out how you can route around the state. Like, all of these things are good things. If you started 30 seconds ago, then that's fantastic and that's awesome. And, we have nothing but open arms for you. And we're just so excited that you picked up on what's going on, and, let me know what I could possibly do to help you along, to help, can I give you resources, whatever. And that, like, taking that approach, that's like the light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing for me, of like being able to hopefully play that role in a couple of people's lives and get to a point of, there's a ton of fucked up stuff. Hillary Clinton is literally a Satanist, all this different stuff. There's all these bad people doing this. I mean, the Maxwell trial just started, everything associated with that. And it's like, but for the first time in human history, we have an opportunity to opt out of all that at scale. People have always been able to opt out of it, once they get rich enough or whatever. But to opt out of it at scale for normal people has never been an option on the table in the history of all of humanity. And that, I think, is pretty cool. And I'm optimistic that as they tighten things down, and as they, just like the title this week, Censorship is the Cathedral's last hope. It's like, that's all they have, is controlling the narrative and controlling the money. It's like, once we stop participating in their narrative and stop using their money, they don't have a lot of power left. And especially once that happens at scale, I think things get real fun real quick.
Yeah. Lurk says she looks horrendous right now. The lizards are melting.
Yeah.
Hashtag Svetsky.
I saw that tweet this week. That was good.
Yeah, she's withdrawn from her adrenochrome, which hasn't been able to get to her for supply chain issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's on a barge off the coast of LA.
Yeah. No, and like, that's a thing. Like, I'm not expecting people to, go out there and like be on the front lines of this thing and do anything absurd, or, well, not absurd, but radical. But it's like seeing the severity of the situation we're in. Like, it's like, if you're not awake right now, I just don't really know, what to do for you. Like, how much worse does it have to get? Like, do there have to be camps there? Or even at that point, are you not able to see that? And it's having like kind of a global view of what's happening right now and watching all these things happen in lockstep. It's not individuals in positions of power making decisions, just because they think it's the right thing to do. It's something that's coordinated and, yeah. I mean,
Well, and if you've ever had a relationship with somebody who, and like a toxic relationship in the original meaning, not kind of the Bitcoin meaning that we have taken on, but like a toxic relationship, something, whether it's somebody struggles with alcoholism or substance abuse or something like that. Like, I think it's kind of a similar dynamic to these people that are just completely stuck in the system and can't see what's going on. It's not. At least, my approach is I never have, or I try not to ever have like ill feelings towards that person. Like, I try to view it as, man, this is a really unfortunate thing that's happening. I think it can be a lot better, and I want to make it a lot better. But I can't force that person to see what's happening in the economy in the world. I can't force that person to, choose to love the future version of themselves. It's like, I can't do any of that. All I can do is kind of speak the truth as best I can, and, hopefully help them along in any way. But it's like, I can't, if somebody has severe alcoholism, I can't force them to stop drinking. It's like, I can support them, I can help them. And it's like, I really think it's a kind of similar dynamic to, how we interact with these people that are just totally still plugged into the matrix and just cannot cannot get out of it. They're still in the pod. They still got the tube in their arm, the tube in the back of their head, like all that kind of stuff. And it's, it's like, we can beat them with the truth, or, we can share it as best we can, and how they react is how they react, and just kind of be at peace with that. But it's completely undeniable what you're saying, the human misery that comes with it. It's totally undeniable. There's a tremendous amount of human misery just from inflation alone, let alone all the other garbage. I mean, it's like how many people were on the verge of solvency 6 months ago and now are looking at homelessness in the very near future? Probably a lot, and that's a fact. And it's, I don't know. It all goes back to the money.
It's over a quarter of Tucson. I can guarantee that.
Wow, I believe it.
Yeah, it's yeah, and kind of like, what I'm saying is, like, if I had a friend or family member that was like a severe alcoholic, and which I don't mean like they get drunk a lot. I mean, like, it's a whirlwind to be around them.
Yeah.
Type situation, kind of like Frank from Shameless. I don't know. Have you seen that show?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's a good show. It was like my childhood. But I probably wouldn't want to spend a ton of time around them or be in their general vicinity a lot, and like set those boundaries with them and be like, hey, I need some space. And no, I totally agree with like the, share the truth with them, but not beat them over the head with it, because that's not really productive for anybody. Nobody really hears anything that way. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's difficult to be around that. It's like a, the everything is fine mentality right now is not really something I'm interested in, pursuing or being around, I guess, is ultimately what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, that's why, like, I find Bitcoin meetups extremely exhilarating. Spending time with Bitcoiners, getting in the local community, and being around people that see the problems and are actively taking solutions. Like, they're out there, and people are getting mobilized right now, and that's the thing that is exciting. And I'm not talking about like going and yelling at school boards and that nonsense. I mean, like, people are actually doing good, productive things. They're seeing the issues and are taking steps. Yeah. So yeah, do you got any predictions now that Jack Dorsey is out of Twitter?
I don't even know that guy, the guy that replaced him is, people have been digging up his old tweets. All this ridiculous. I mean, he's just standard kind of Silicon Valley communist sort of. I don't know, or not like Bolshevik. Bolshevik is like the term I keep thinking of, because I went through a period a while ago where I was reading books on like the Russian Revolution and things like that, and I think studying the Bolshevik Revolution is and especially how U.S. corporations and Wall Street and things like that supported it, I think is really informative to what's going on right now. Because it's like most people, they hear communist, they think, Latin American rebel hanging out with Che Guevara in, the jungle, or, the jungles of Vietnam and Viet Cong, something like that. And it's like, I think the Bolsheviks are a much more appropriate model for what we're looking at, of just this, like, just hopelessly corrupt, these, like, I've used the phrase before, but it's like these people have the moral compass of Charles Manson, and, the full resources of the state behind them. And then they have a bunch of corporations like Nike directly supporting their mission, running propaganda for them. They have the corporate press, it's essentially their public relations arm. And then they have all these other corporations falling into line. They're like, okay, I got 65,000 people that work for me. I can mandate that they all get the vaccine. I'm doing my part, and it's just like, I don't know, just seeing how all this stuff kind of works together and how hopelessly kind of corrupt they are, and kind of looking at it as, it's like, okay, well, that's the system that is the pile of ashes that they're going to control over. Fucking let them have it. I don't want it. I don't want to be there. Like, I tweeted this out a while ago and was talking about it some more this week, but it's like one thing I've been really thankful for is how much easier it is to practice freedom of association these days. It's like it's very, very clear who I want to be around and who I want to spend money with, and who I do not want to be around and who I do not want to spend money with. Like it's, there's the picture this week at the bar that said only vaccinated guests. It's like I look at that and I think, oh, okay, well you just made it much easier for me to decide where I want to spend money. That's, it's completely disgusting what they're doing, but it's, if somebody's a disgusting, evil human being, I would prefer to know rather than not know, so that I can kind of adjust my actions accordingly. And I don't know, they're making that a whole lot easier, which is one thing that I'm thankful for.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, with the mask stuff in Tucson, knowing which businesses that are not worth my time or energy supporting, it is definitely helpful knowing.
Well, like I told you, I've been trying to find a little co-working space lately just to have like a little office to work at. And they're all, like two of the ones I looked at were just like, oh, we, our COVID protocol is this, and we, deactivated half of the desks so that people could maintain social distance. But it's like, I found one that I think is actually reasonable. And so like, I didn't see anything. I talked to them a little bit. They didn't mention anything about that garbage. So I'm going to go check it out this week. But it's like, if they're like, oh, do you have a mask? Like, it's not even like just bringing it up is going to be enough to be like, no, bye, walk out the door. Like, I don't need to do the tour. So, but it's, just figuring out, I don't know, we're empowered to stop funding our own oppression. I think that's what it boils down to.
Yep.
And that's a really nice silver lining, is it's like, we don't have to fund our own oppression anymore. We can fund places with values that are not Soviet.
Yeah. If that one doesn't work out, I've got a co-working space I know of in town. That's good. Yeah, I think the interest in describing them as Bolsheviks is interesting. I think that's pretty accurate. Man, this really sucks that the stream's not working.
Walked out of a case. What's a case? Is that a Canadian thing, or is that a misspelling, Zorn?
I think it said because.
Oh, because. Okay.
I walked out because they demanded I sanitize my hands before I entered. I guess like money and staying in business.
Yeah.
Well, this is the weird thing that's going to happen, is there's going to be parallel economies being formed.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all that this creates is, people are just going to take their money elsewhere, and there's going to be these two different factions.
Mm-hmm.
Like that,
and one's going to prosper and one's going to die, and that's going to be, or actually one, the existing one's going to die, and a whole bunch are going to prosper, a whole bunch of different ones.
But I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting because they can make things incredibly difficult for the companies that don't comply, and then they can subsidize the ones that do comply. And I think that's what makes this really tricky right now, is like, yes, in a typical, free market scenario, that is the case. But I think things are much more of battleground right now. And, in talking with business owners, they want to have a network. Like I've talked with people that want to have networks of information of like, here's where you go to a doctor, if you need these services, because they're going to start denying services to people that have chosen not to get jabbed. They're already doing it in some places. Here's where you go if you need this service. Here's where you go if you need that service. And, and people are terrified to put their name out there openly, to stand on the battleground because of all the insane chaos that comes with it. Because all that needs to happen to just ruin your life is to have your name in a media story negatively. So.
Lil Man Chirac, I don't currently have plans to watch Tyler Perry's Medea Christmas. Do you recommend it?
I've never even heard of it. What's Medea?
Medea is the overweight character that Tyler Perry plays, like a big lady.
Nice.
I watched one of them. I don't remember which Medea one it was.
Maybe I'll have to check it out. I did watch this hilarious story. I forgot what it was called, but it was about a guy that I'll have to watch it.
I just recently learned. Actually, no, I still don't know exactly what no cap means, but I know it's something the Zoomers are saying.
Swag, sugar daddy.
771.
Gosh, these are dope names.
Not a whole lot. We're just learning about Medea's family Christmas. We're pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
He said, "What's good, y'all?"
Yeah, I watched this awesome documentary about a guy in Idaho that went to war with his HOA because he wanted to have a 10,000 person Christmas party in his front yard, and they got pretty upset.
Oh, so it's possible I'm just really old. He said he's 32 and he says no cap. When did I first heard it? A few months ago.
I have no idea what that means.
The people I heard saying it were Zoomers, so I'm 100% basing that on anecdotal data for sure.
So when is you start? I'm gonna watch it probably this weekend.
All right, at some point somebody's gonna have to tell this boomer what no cap means, though.
I have no idea what it means either. I'm younger than you, so I don't know. I read books. They start the Tyler Perry movie soon. Hell yeah. But yeah, this guy that went to war with his HOA was the biggest dick in the world. And he like turned this in. Did you hear about this media story a few years back?
I didn't, but remind me to tell a story about Tyler Perry. I just remembered.
All right.
Later.
Well, this guy managed to get in the news. Who are these people?
So Tyler Perry is actually really applicable to what we were talking about because like of how he built his whole career and his whole media empire and his movie studio. Like he's Atlanta, I believe is where he is. And he basically, I mean, like what we're talking about with like saying, fuck the existing system, build your own parallel system is essentially what Tyler Perry did. Like I don't know if he's a billionaire yet, but I'm sure he's headed in that direction. And he built this whole empire, you know, more or less parallel to Hollywood and all those satanic pedos over there. And he is actually, it's really cool what he built in Atlanta. And he's got this whole, I don't know. Yeah. He just got a whole empire and he, I'm just cracking up at the comments. I'm trying not to, but actually, anyway, all that to say, I know we got some Tyler Perry fans joining in the comments, and I appreciate that. But Tyler Perry specifically is very, very applicable to what we're talking about into Bitcoin. So, do you guys like Bitcoin, or have you not figured it out yet? I'm curious. All the Tyler Perry fans, let us know in the comments what you think.
I don't know. I'm kind of a bit of a troll, so I could have gotten some people.
Medea go to jail. I think that's the one. I saw. That one was pretty funny. Medea goes to jail.
I can't think of the last watch a Tyler Perry movie.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, definitely look into how exactly Tyler Perry. Oh, we got to convince little man Chirac to buy some Bitcoin.
No, he can stay dumb.
I don't buy no internet money. But anyway, yeah. Anybody curious? Look into Tyler Perry. Look at how he built his whole business, his whole kind of media empire, all that kind of stuff. Very cool. Tons of stuff that we can learn from someone like him for sure.
Nice.
Can't buy a G with Bitcoin.
Yes, you can.
Oh, you absolutely can. You don't even have to go to a dealer. You can just you can buy on the internet. It's like there's Amazon for that with Bitcoin. Look it up.
Bitcoin. Hell yeah.
Bitcoin is how you defund the people that hate you. That's the crux of it. Bitcoin's how you live whatever life you want to live. If you want, let's see, I got them dog coins when they were worth 40 cents. I ain't never check on it. Someone named Megan is saying hello to you, Tucson.
That's Bitmags
Okay.
from Nebraska.
Nice. From that Omaha conference you did? Cool.
Yeah. She's got some dope merch.
Awesome.
Check it out. She's on Twitter at Bitmags.
Cool.
But yeah, Tyler Perry, Media Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Fuck the dog coins, though. Sell that shit. Turn it into Bitcoin already.
Yeah, they're just trolling. So speaking of dog coins, so you alluded to a little bit earlier that Kraken sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Should we pursue them for a sponsorship for the
Oh,
show?
maybe we should. Yeah. I think as long as they don't look at my Twitter history, we could be good. Because I do tag them frequently when I... Where is Drug Amazon at? I mean, I'm not going to mention it on a recording, but buy some Bitcoin and read the Bitcoin Standard, and we could probably get you that information. Look, actually, though, look, it doesn't exist anymore. Here's something you can look up that we can say on air. Look up the story of the Silk Road. You might be interested to learn about that. That was a long time ago. It's been around for a long time, but people on the Silk Road were using Bitcoin to get anything you could imagine that's nonviolent. So, drugs, all kinds of stuff delivered to their house, came in like a FedEx envelope, and worked really, really well until the government did what it always does and ruined it.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever bought anything on a darknet market, but the way to do it, you go and you download Tor, go to the hidden wiki, you get your Bitcoins, and then in the hidden wiki, there'll be a list of a bunch of markets that you can find. That's the step-by-step how to do it.
But yeah. Favorite Bitcoin book and non-Bitcoin book? That's a good question.
Man, I've got so many favorite books. Favorite Bitcoin book, probably the Bitcoin Standard, because that was the one that really helped me out. I haven't read the Fiat Standard yet. I'm pretty stoked on that. And then favorite non-Bitcoin book, fiction, I would say Les Mis, and nonfiction, I would say Man's Search for Meaning. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd say favorite, but top 10, just because we've been talking about it recently, would definitely be Autobiography of Malcolm X. I think has to be up there. What else?
I still need to read that.
This book will save you time, is what Zorn says. That's Murad, right? Or no, is it Murad's brother? One of them. What's their last name? I don't remember exactly. Zorn said Tyler Perry sold out, put a man in a dress to demean them. I have not followed him super closely, so I don't know anything about that. I just know I read years ago about how he built his whole empire and basically gave a giant fuck you to Hollywood and won, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, we shilled a lot here, but Most Dangerous Superstition is a Bitcoin book that doesn't mention Bitcoin. That's very good. I'm an Ann cult member, no question about it. So
I've never read her, and I don't think I ever will.
Big fan of Atlas Shrugged and Fountainhead. Those are, I know a lot of people that are. Hey, Lurk, he didn't actually read it. Watch the interview. Lurk said you and Lakami James are both big fans of the Autobiography of Malcolm X. If he actually read the book, there's no way he would be holding it because it contradicts everything he does.
Anatomy of the State is a big one that I'm a fan of. Rothbard. Road to Serfdom. It's a good one.
Yeah.
I think like another good one is like what books do you suggest to people to read off the bat?
Yeah. I mean, mine's super unoriginal. Bitcoin Standard, Little Bitcoin Book is a good one. Like if somebody's not terribly interested and doesn't want to invest very much, Little Bitcoin Book's what I always recommend. Zorn says Foundation by Isaac Asimov. I've heard that from many, many people, and I need to get off my ass and read that. I have no excuse.
I watched this show. It was pretty good. I'm sure the book is good. I'll have to go back and read it.
Fight Club. It's a great, great book and great movie. Big fan. All right. Are we done with book club? Good question, though.
Yeah, speaking of book club, I'm planning sometime next year to start a fiat standard book club because I'm stoked to read it. Somebody was begging me to do a book club in Telegram.
Something really cool about Saifedean, he makes no effort whatsoever to police the PDFs that get released for free of like books and stuff. And then something, I don't know if he still does this, but I know that for a while on his website, if you bought one course, then you could just change the URL to access all the other courses. And someone told him about that. And his, if I remember correctly, his response was basically, oh yeah, no, I did that on purpose. If somebody can figure that out, then, they deserve to access everything. Like he really, I mean, he obviously he's got to make a living off all this, but he also, I think, really takes just kind of the anarchist perspective on intellectual property pretty seriously, which I think is pretty cool.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Mm.
I mean, I did in the book, Sedition, Subversion, Sabotage. That's one of the things the guy said in the beginning is that intellectual property is, he released the book without any copyrights or anything. He said intellectual property rights is for lazy people that can't produce things of value. So I thought that was funny.
Lyric is wanting to know how Don is enjoying the Communist Manifesto. Yeah, I think I saw that. There was a picture of him and that witch that Elon broke up with, reading the book together. I thought it was pretty cute. Don and her were like holding hands. It was a real special moment. It was pretty cute. Grimes, that's what it is.
It amazed me that they were together.
Don and Grimes, yeah. I don't know. I thought she was a little bit out of his league, but not like way out. But I thought it was, I was pretty proud of him. Pulled her in.
Don, gets thrown a lot of shade on Don that doesn't deserve it. That dude's awesome. That guy's got hash power.
Yeah, he does.
I wonder if that's the issue. Miners like screw up the internet.
Do they? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think they take that much internet bandwidth.
Oh, Zorn asked, "Is Don raising Elon's kid?" No. Don was just having some fun for a while. He was not. No. Don's too smart to lock down someone like that.
Don would do a much better job than Elon at raising a kid. I guarantee that.
For sure.
Elon's probably one of the world's worst parents, I would imagine.
Oh, Max. I think Max is referring to the internet problem, that it's not miners.
Okay, cool.
Don says, I heard Lurk and Skeef met at their previous job building wind farms. Hey, man, we're just trying to save environment, Trying to kill the environment. Trying to murder as many birds as possible. Which are did you see that video Clancy posted this week?
No.
There's this guy in Memphis, Tennessee. If you've not seen it, freaking go look it up. But there's a giant billboard in Memphis, Tennessee that just says birds aren't real. And it's by these people they have this whole club around birds being not real. And their whole idea is that there was a bird genocide. I forget what, they have an exact date. I forget what the date, what the year was. But there was a bird genocide, and birds are no longer real. What you think you see as birds are actually government surveillance drones. And a corollary to that is that the reason they're always sitting on power lines is because that's how they recharge. So a lot of people need to wake up. Birds aren't real. But what cracked me up is the guy was like, yeah, and we were trying to decide which city to bring it to, and we settled on the Paris of the Southeast, Memphis, Tennessee. Or no, I think he said the Paris of the West, even something like that. Anyway, go watch the video; it's hilarious. Clancy posted it, and I'm sure other people did too.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I've followed those guys for years. They've been around for a long time. It seems like they're gaining some traction. My little sister sent me a sticker. I'm pretty sure I have it on my AR case. The birds aren't real.
Oh, nice.
Or it might be the chemtrail dispersal unit. I can't remember. She sends me those stickers.
I first heard about it a few months ago. I didn't realize it was that much older.
Yeah. Chickens, I think, are different. So the types of birds that they, and turkeys are different. The types of birds that the government has replaced are flying birds. Chickens and turkeys don't need to charge on power lines. So I think that's if you start to see chickens and if they start running power lines around where the chickens and turkeys are, then there's a serious issue.
Well, and it's particularly common in urban areas. Like the pigeon is the most common model of government surveillance drone for sure.
Yeah.
By far.
Most generic. I mean, I could totally see Raytheon doing something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they're pretty busy. Anyway, I was about to say something really terrible. Let's move on.
You know what Raytheon's apparently working on right now?
What's that?
So this is something I didn't realize it was Raytheon until somebody that I have met was accused by somebody that I know of working on the project. But they're working on nanoparticles that they put on the food to be able to track the food, supposedly. Pretty creepy stuff. I mean, the whole idea of it that they say is to be able to track from where it's produced to consumption. And of course, it's probably terrible for you and creepy and has other things involved with it. But apparently Raytheon's working on that right now in Tucson. So
Max says Texas Slim spoke of that. He is one. Go watch every single podcast he has done, which I believe at TFTC. I don't know who else he has done, but Texas Slim he's as good as it gets. He's got a really, really, really valuable perspective, and he really, really knows his shit.
He was on Bitcoin and that was the first one I heard him on.
Okay.
Really solid podcast. And then he was on Bitcoin Kindergarten a couple weeks ago with Shishi.
Oh, damn, I missed that week. Okay, I definitely need to watch that one.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing this evening. I'm watching the Bitcoin Kindergarten that he was on, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it was him and Shishi.
Oh, yeah. And Shishi's another one who really knows his stuff.
Oh, Once Bitten. I haven't listened to that one.
Okay.
He was on Simply Bitcoin, too.
Oh, nice.
With Shishi as well.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Shishi's awesome, too. Definitely go follow him on Twitter. Go check him out.
Shishi's the type of person you want as your neighbor.
Yeah.
Somebody posted asking who are my top 3 Bitcoiners as neighbors, and I said Shishi was one of them.
Eric Kaysen's definitely at the top of my list.
He was in that list for me, too.
Imagine having Eric Kaysen as a neighbor. You just randomly shooting the shit about the most interesting, smart stuff ever.
Yeah. I need to get Kaysen on here.
Hey, Max, you want to let other people comment? It's all you, bud.
Jump in the spaces, dude. Invited you to speak like 6 times.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
There we go. What's up, Max?
What's up, guys?
What's up, Max?
What's up, y'all?
Hey,
Sorry,
we have a very serious episode this week, Max. We're trying to no, anyway, go ahead.
I'm spamming the shit out of this shit. I apologize.
No, we love it. We love it. We love you. We love your comments.
The more the merrier. We got to blow it up. I'm trying to get banned here.
Well, what do you got going on? What are you up to, Max, other than eating government surveillance drones for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, that's basically what it was. Getting some prints started here. Trying to figure out how I can get more miners, but I'm maxed out of my panel, so trying to make it down to the Austin, Texas block party. We'll see if I can get a flight. That'd be awesome to go. That's pretty much it for my evening. What do you guys? What's the main topic for tonight?
Thank you for reminding. Before we forget, if you're at all close to Austin, go there on Thursday, December 2nd. They're having a big block party down on Rainy Street. I was hoping I was going to be able to extend my Thanksgiving trip to Texas long enough to be able to go to that, but it didn't work out. But yes, if you're anywhere close to Austin, go down there on Thursday for sure.
Yeah.
Kyle Murphy, I know, is one of the ones. Carr, who's the producer for TFTC now, he's another one organizing it, and I'm sure tons and tons. They've got a group called the Austin Bitcoin Club that's awesome, and they're doing some really, really cool stuff. It's great.
Yeah, Michael Atwood did some work.
Yep, Michael Atwood, who I had the pleasure of meeting in El Salvador. Super, super cool guy. Big fan for sure. And Oshi app, that's really exciting. But anyway, got shout outs done. What was your question, Max?
You just asked what we're up to.
Oh, what we're up to.
Topic for tonight is censorship is the cathedral's last hope.
Yes, it is.
Cathedrals suck.
We got to fix that.
Yes.
I'm curious. What are you guys' thoughts on? I mean, it's quite a topic for today, especially ironic being on Spaces right now. But what are your thoughts over the next 18, 24 months for Twitter? With Jack stepping down, are we going to be more censored? So on and so forth. Like, I'm just curious, what are you guys' thoughts on just this as a platform?
Yes.
I'm trying to make this account last a while, but being banned isn't that big of a deal. I don't know, and it's maybe it'll. Like I tweeted this out today. I'm getting Mastodon set up on my embassy this weekend, so I will have that of my own. I know there's the Bitcoin Hackers one, and I have an account on there, but I want to run my own. Run my own on there. So stuff like that. But I don't know. I just more than anything, I take the perspective of it's fun to watch how all this develops, because at the end of the day, it doesn't actually matter. Let's say Twitter and Telegram got nuked tomorrow. We would all connect again. Like, we've got enough emails, got enough phone numbers. We'll, figure out where we want to hang out again after that. And then we'll just kind of go from there. Let's see, Max. Oh yeah, run your own instance. Yeah. So, So running Mastodon on the embassy. That's at the top of my to-do list for the near future. If you're not being banned, you're not saying anything interesting, is what Zorn says. Yeah. I don't know. My last ban was for inciting violence for politicians and bankers. And I chose not to even appeal it because I definitely agreed with their assessment. That's definitely what I was doing. So. Oh, yeah. That's good. That
was actually one of my first thoughts. So, okay. Lurk says, did you guys see the Ethereum address option was added to Twitter already? So that's what's going to, one of the things that's going to happen is Twitter is going to become a shitcoin haven. And
wasn't it BlockFi that had it was BlockFi. They had, I think they were charging, it was ridiculous. It was I think it was either 7,500 or 75,000. I think it was 75,000 sats for Bitcoin withdrawals. You get one free withdrawal, and then they're charging 75,000. And somebody pointed out, so that was obviously way above market. You can do a Bitcoin transaction for 10 cents right now. And then the Ethereum withdrawal cost was way below market. And so somebody pointed out the obvious, which is, these motherfuckers are subsidizing Ethereum withdrawals when they're insane gas fees by way overcharging for Bitcoin withdrawals. Can you imagine paying 75,000 sats for a Bitcoin transaction? And I was hanging out in the comments below there for a little bit, and it was just fascinating to me how many BlockFi users like don't know anything about doing a Bitcoin transaction. Like they're like, yeah, why does it cost this much? It should only be like $5. I was like, bro, actually it's 10 cents. It's not even $5. But anyway, shout out to who was it Lurk or Don who was getting BlockFi merch for Christmas? I can't remember. That was at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Yeah, it's BlockFi. I mean, how much does an Ethereum transaction cost right now? It's absurd.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, I haven't looked at. I just see the screenshots of like this $100 gas fee, things like that.
But I mean, if you think of the typical Ethereum user, that's all they do is just buy it and leave it on an exchange for the most part.
Yeah.
Unless they're trying to go and buy some NFTs or something like that, but that's probably a minority of people out there that are into that. And it's the same thing with the BlockFi. Like most of the people that are interested in products like BlockFi will never $50 to $150 for a meth send. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, like what I put in the chat, we're getting better at least us who are more advanced users. We know where to find the wallets and exchanges that allow you to set your own fees. But most of the places, such as BlockFi or Coinbase or whatever general open shitcoin exchange or crappy collateralized loan platform, they don't offer you an option to set fees.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip side, people don't understand the trade-offs of those other chains and stuff like that. So it's just like an educational curve for people to understand on that, which is really shitty. But I like what Zorn said in the chat. F guys are the worst. They can't even verify their own chain.
Mm-hmm.
And even Vitalik doesn't run his own node.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what do you do?
And Don asked a question in the comment. Can we hear thoughts on Compass S19 XP pre-sales? Yeah, shocker. I think that's a terrible idea to buy that bundle. And I don't even dislike Compass as much as a lot of people do. But yeah, the idea that thing ships on time. First of all, that it ships on time at all, that's a super low probability event in my mind. And then the idea that it gets to Compass on time and they get it plugged in anything close to on time, given the issues that they're already having, seems super, super low probability. If you want to buy a miner, find a basement you can plug it into or something like that. I would recommend not doing one of these Compass bundles, basically giving them an interest-free loan right as the price is probably about to rip straight to the moon. Yeah, because that's always the risk with these bundles is, you put down your deposit 3 months out, 4 months out. In this case, I think it's like 8 months out or something completely insane like that. I forget when they're promising it, but then that whole time in between when you send the transaction, presumably you're paying in Bitcoin, or even if you're not, you could have used that money to buy Bitcoin. So it's exactly the same thing. But it's like the time between when you send that transaction and when that shit's online, like you're accepting that full price risk that entire time. And that's something to think very deeply about.
I really don't like Compass. I think the last couple of weeks have kind of solidified that for me. When you've got, what's Peter McCormick's ex? What's that?
Yeah, the NFT chick.
Yeah. She
posted her CryptoPunks thing.
Yeah. That was dumb.
That was pretty bad.
That was really dumb. But yeah, no, it like custodial mining seems like a lot worse than custodial Bitcoin, in my opinion.
Yeah. My two sats is I look at it as a risk reward play. It's definitely higher risk because they hold the miners, they could be scammers, they could be incompetent. And it's also definitely higher reward because I don't know anybody who rolls their own who can be, 5.5 cents all in. And maybe that's because it's a Ponzi and you're going to lose everything. Entirely possible. But yeah, I don't know. It definitely, I don't know. Like I heard somebody tell a story of they, did an unchained loan on a significant portion of their stack to buy a bunch of Compass miners. And I just shook my head. I was like, oh my God, I hope it works out fine because I don't want to see anybody lose sats, but there's a very high probability you get fucked by this.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same mentality as like having your sats in BlockFi, in my opinion, because there is a reward in the sense of earning interest on your Bitcoin, which is super enticing, especially if you think about it over a period of years of like you're getting yield on something that's just sitting there and then also exponentially appreciating in value. And you kind of have the same idea of like, having your miner with them. But it just seems like there's been a lot of issues where, people's miners go down. They're not checking on them. I mean, I'm sure it's just kind of, one of these companies that, behind the scenes, things are just a complete disaster. And
yeah,
so
for what it's worth, the anecdotal data that I have from talking to people who use Compass and use Compass at scale is that the vast majority of the time it works out great as planned. And, I'm definitely not going to say what I have or don't have, but I know a lot of people who have had that experience. But they had that one facility in South Carolina for sure. They got just completely fucked. I think it just didn't work out at all, and that definitely caused a lot of issue. Somebody interesting, Ephesians, I think his new handle is EPH_612, I think. He's got a really, really interesting theory that basically and he tweeted this out. I'm not like blowing him up or anything. But anyway, look up what he tweeted. His one of his theories is basically that this is number one, that they are just outright scammers, and that this is an ASIC acquisition strategy for them. And so his idea is they basically make, and again, read what he said, 'cause it's much more thought out than what I'm going to say here. But basically that they make all these promises. First of all, they get all these deposits, so they're getting all that money up front. So they're getting these deposits, they delay, and then offer refunds. And their terms of service are explicit. Refunds are in dollars. They're not like if you send them 20 million sats, and then you get a refund later, they give you the dollar value, which could be 10 million sats, could be 5 million sats, could be 3 million sats. And so that was one interesting kind of, I don't know, like real, because a lot of people like they're scammers, but they don't really get into the mechanics of how something like that might operate. And that I thought was a good one, of just basically like intentionally having these issues, intentionally having these facility issues, to basically get people to demand refunds. And then, and I think there's a pretty low probability this is what's happening, but it's certainly a lot higher than 0, which is definitely something to take into consideration. But yeah, but then just basically that they'll then refund those miners once people get fed up and just give me my fucking money back. But they'll refund it presumably after the price is ripped, and then they'll still have possession of those miners. And maybe they were running them the whole time. I mean, that's another critique is, are they having a facility delay, or are they running the miner and taking the sats and you're just shit out of luck? Like you have no way to verify that that's not happening for sure. So either of those, I would put pretty low probability on either of those, but it's definitely higher than 0, and it definitely makes sense. And a lot weirder things have happened before, for sure.
Yeah, that's super. Yeah, it freaks me out.
Because it's 100% custodial. There's no way around that. That's undeniable.
Yeah. How much are they selling the S19 XPs for? I saw that there's a pack, but individually.
That I haven't looked at the XP. I know. I think a miner online in like an S19 in a regular one, 110 terahash online in a couple of weeks. I believe they're getting like 15, 16 grand for it, something like that.
Wow.
Kaboom will get you an S19 110 hash. I just saw on the Telegram today, 13 grand, 13,200. You know, I want to say I saw 2-3 weeks on there. So, yeah, shocker. Big fan of Kaboom racks on this show, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Kaboom. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious how much they're selling the XP. I mean, it's interesting that they increased the hash power by 50 terahash and aren't calling it the next gen miner. So I wonder what Bitmain has in the works for the next gen, whenever that comes out, if that comes out anytime soon. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and then it'll be interesting to see what What's Miner does next too. I believe 112 is their biggest one right now, so it'll be interesting to see what What's Miner has in the works.
Yeah, I need to learn more about What's Miner. I've just been focusing on Bitmain mostly, but which is
I know
probably a bad thing.
Hodl Tarantula on Twitter, who is just an all-around amazing human being. First of all, huge fan of that guy. But also does, just is super generous with his mining knowledge, things like that. I know he's a ride or die for What's Miner. I believe that's all he uses, is my understanding.
Well, Neil's that way too.
Yeah, Neil likes him too. And my understanding is it's longevity, and it seems like I don't know. You could just talk to them because I'm retarded on this, but that's my understanding, is that they last a lot longer, and that they think that the build quality is a lot better. And then I know the S17 was a complete pile of dog shit, and so I think a lot of people still have a bad taste in their mouth towards that miner.
Yeah.
I run What's Miners. They're fantastic. I know Hodl does, Neil does, like you guys just both said. Just a very brief backstory on MicroBT. That's the guy that left Bitmain to go and start his own manufacturing company, and he built the S9s. Just from my own experience, I've only had one power supply go, and that was immediately right after I got it. So I was kind of assuming that the third-party retailer who I bought it from in China was running it, which it is what it is. We know that most likely happens. But ever since then, it's again, knock on wood, it's a rock solid machine. I've literally had no issues with it, except for maybe connecting to a pool, but that was the pool issues. The power supply popped one time, but that wasn't that big of a deal. I ordered a new one, and it literally came from China within I ordered it, I think, Sunday night, and I got it Thursday, which is crazy last year.
Yeah, I was going to say that this is pre-COVID, it sounds like.
No, this is immediately in the midst of COVID.
Oh, really? Nice.
This was last September. Last September.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people who really know their stuff prefer What's Miner over Bitmain for sure. That would I don't have an informed opinion on the matter, but that's certainly something I've observed.
Well, we all know Jihan.
The other big difference. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying that we all know that Jihan sucks.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. The other big difference is all Bitmain ASIC hash boards come from TSMC in Taiwan. MicroBT from the What's Miner brand, sources from Samsung. So at least, God forbid anything that happens in Taiwan, at least we do have a little bit of geopolitical advantage, if you will.
Oh, I see.
For Samsung producing the boards there. The other nice thing, when I go and clean out the hash boards, the heat sink is one ginormous single milled piece of aluminum, whereas I know on the Bitmain, each individual CPU has its own heat sink, so it's more prone to pop off and stuff like that. So it's really nice. It does a good job cooling and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the S19, it's half of it is a single heat sink, and then the other half is individual ones, if that makes sense, on either side of the hash board.
Interesting. Yeah, probably. I have not seen inside of an S19, so except for pictures, so I can't confirm.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Don about that.
It's definitely individual on the S9. We know that.
Yeah.
Seen those.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Yeah, that's interesting to think about for the high. So I'm just like building this theory, or I've had this theory and I'm building evidence for it, that hash rate's going to drop pretty substantially in the future. And
like overall drop?
Overall drop.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's that. Like, there's going to be a massive ASIC crunch for sure in the future. I think that's kind of a given, just based on supply chain issues and based on production issues. And, you know, we were talking with Nick Foster, and he doesn't necessarily see it that way, but because the ASIC chips are different than like kind of your general chips used for like cars and stuff like that we're seeing issues for. But, you know, the fact that Taiwan is going to get invaded and Bitmain's not going to have the ability to have chips produced, they're building these foundries in the U.S. and Arizona and Texas, but it's going to take a few years for those to come online. And then we're watching global energy prices rise pretty dramatically. And then there was an interesting tweet from Denver Bitcoining saying that there's still 20% of the network's hash rate in China, is what he's estimating, and that there's probably going to be another serious crackdown because China's a complete dumpster fire when it comes to their power grid. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Nick was talking about that on here a couple weeks ago as well, you know, saying that the mining crackdown wasn't necessarily a Bitcoin thing, but was most likely a power thing. They're just trying to figure out ways to get their power sorted. So, I mean, if you have China having a massive crackdown and, you know, say they're able to get a substantial amount of that 20% offline, and then on top of having an ASIC supply crunch where these ASICs aren't going to be coming online at the same rate, because I think, I mean, a lot of the ASICs I think that have come online are newer gens. The S19s, not necessarily, you know, S17s, S9s coming from China to the U.S. or other places. I don't know how much of that has just been movement of existing running machines. So, yeah.
And Nick thought there will or will not be a supply crunch with the ASICs.
He was pretty like neutral on it, but wasn't like very supportive of my theory that there's going to be a supply crunch. So,
and see, and so so is the China more fuckery? Is that the mechanism by which hash rate actually drops versus just grows slower than a lot of people are expecting?
That and rising energy costs.
Oh, and rising, I see.
Because, I mean, I think the ones that the people that are going to get hit the most by this are the larger.
That makes sense, because a huge portion of the network still runs on S9s. I know that.
Right when the ban happened, everything coming from China was S9s. Okay.
So
so they sent us their old shitty machines.
Yeah.
Not that S9s are shitty, but they're not top of the line.
Interesting. That I hadn't thought. No, that makes a lot of sense. If a huge, I forget, don't know if anybody has a decent estimate of the numbers of what percent of the network hash power is S9s, you know, or that you know, that level of miner. If it's significant, you know, skyrocketing energy prices would certainly move a lot of those miners offline.
It's kind of hard to figure that out, though, isn't it? Because how many people are actually disclosing not only their hash rate, but more specifically and exclusively what machines they're using? So I find that to be almost an impossible calculation.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you could figure it out, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, and an individual.
It is
let's
an interesting
see.
theory, though, that you bring up.
An individual pool might have, so like an F2 or a slush pool, they would have because they can identify individual workers, and so they would have a decent idea of how many S9s are on their pool, wouldn't they? Or am I saying something stupid here?
No, you're correct. The pool can identify that. I don't know if.
But aggregating that at the network, that's totally unknowable.
Yeah, it's kind of like if I'm pointing 13.5 terahash at F2 pool, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be an S9, right? Versus if I'm pointing 110 terahash, then it's probably an M30++ or a S19J Pro or something like that.
Or if they're like, if F2 can say we have this many workers that are regularly under 20 terahash, that would be a good indicator of machines that might go offline if we see energy prices skyrocket. That's I'd not thought of that angle before, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I
have a hard time believing. Oh, go ahead.
I just see like the energy costs in some parts of this country where people are spending 20 cents a terawatt hour as being a harbinger for what's coming, like California, and Massachusetts.
So
I just have a hard time believing that hash rate could actually drop, but you could experience that. But I mean, I don't know. I do like what Don said in the chat though. Go ahead, Steve.
So Don's comment was the coordinated scheduled release theory may be true. Wanted to avoid crashing the ASIC market. So basically, that rather than unleashing a giant tsunami of ASICs on the market, they're slowly bleeding them out.
That makes sense.
That I could see. Yeah, I'm with you though, Max. I have a hard time, and I'm the first one to admit how ignorant I am on all this. But I also have a hard time seeing like an absolute drop in hash rate. I could see all the things we're talking about. I could easily see that lead to a much slower increase in like a much slower growth rate than what a lot of people are expecting. But it's just, I don't know. The main thing is it cracks me up every time I see somebody who's got one of these mining spreadsheets and they're projecting their payouts. 18 months from now, I'm going to be bringing. I'm like, you have no fucking clue. You have no idea. You don't know what hash rate's going to be in 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's like you're telling me what kind of payouts you're going to get in August of 2022. Get the fuck out of here. That's
a good point.
You don't know what difficulty's going to do.
I was making just on the one. I was making like 1 million sets a day. Okay. And that was as of last year. And then as of now, that's dropped by 75%. Okay, so instead of making it 1 million per day, I'm now only making 1 million every 4 to 5 days. So maybe like 1.25 million a week. Okay, that's a massive increase in hash rate, right?
Yeah.
And now we talked about this before. Steve, I think you were in El Salvador, but we are reaching the limit on computational power being delivered due to quantum mechanics being at play as you get down to 5 and 3 and 1 nanometer chips. Like it's just incomprehensible of how to do that. So really, I think your efficiency gains are going to come from the power usage. How amazing would that be if in the next 5 years you only get a 225 terahash machine, but it only sucks up 900 watts.
Okay.
Right. To
That'd
me,
be
that's
amazing.
still, that's still a massive gain.
Yep.
But really not so much to your overall hash rate growth. And you actually see that right now. I have definitely been proven wrong. I'm sure all of us who are bullish for like $500,000 or $1 million Bitcoin buy right now, we're still at that $50,000-$60,000 number. And after listening to Willie Woo on Peter's pod again, I hate to be this bear. I really fucking hope I'm wrong. I'm still in the $250,000 camp by fucking Christmas, but I don't think we're going to see $100,000 this year. You'll see it probably by Bitcoin 22 maybe or plus. But because typically hash rate or price follows hash rate, we have not gone past that April or May all-time high of hash rate yet.
That's a good point.
Okay, so it's a very complicated environment right now with your limited supply of chips coming out of the market. You're reaching the quantum, limits of the actual efficiencies of how much power they can produce out, and then also to your point, who is actually willing to plug these things in at 25 cents per kilowatt hour,
right,
on grid or off, whoever has limits and stuff. I think we will eventually see hash wars come into play where governments are literally shooting bullets, in return for taking over a Compass mining facility or something like that. I'm sure that's a Compass mining wet dream, but I don't know if we're going to have like another 2 to 5x growth in hash rate over this next epoch. I would love to see it, but I don't know if we're going to get it, which means you potentially could not see a 2 to 5x in price. But I'm still in the sense that parity camp, so I'm still a bull card.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. Don has a really good question. Max, I'd be interested to hear what you think about this. He said, does hash rate increase relative to miner efficiency gains? So basically, does hash rate increase faster than they can get these gains in efficiency? And then he said, if yes, does this explain the lengthening of cycles? That's a very good question that I do not have the answer to.
I guess, again, I'm no mining expert. I'm just a pleb like everybody else. But I guess my question to Don is, does hash rate increase relative to mining efficiency? I guess it comes to which efficiency are you talking about? Are you talking about electricity consumption, or are you talking about actual computational power, the terahash growth? If you're talking the terahash growth, then yes, of course, it would of course increase your hash rate because you're increasing your computational power. If it's more to that example I gave, what's miner or micro Bitmain comes out with a machine of 220 terahash in 2 years, and it sucks up only 1.5 kilowatts or something. Okay, watts per terahash.
Yeah, and that's what I was just about to say. I'm pretty sure watts per terahash is the core metric we're looking at here.
Okay, yeah. So if it's watts per terahash, then I would say yes. Again, with the caveat, more prone to a hash rate growth for increase in hash of that machine rather than that 200 plus terahash machine is only sucking up 900 watts or something like that. But then yes, I would definitely say you will see an increase in hash rate.
Yeah. And Don had another comment that's really good. He said, instead of looking at the cycles relative to the halvening, think about it in terms of mining efficiency jumps. So the decrease in block reward is way less significant than these increases in efficiency, I think would be the core argument. And that's, or the hypothesis, maybe be a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great thought.
The narrative around mining destabilizing power grids will probably come up and be talked about as energy production is an issue going forward and energy prices increase. So we should tell our these politicians and spooks that they should go set up mining rigs in other countries that they don't like. In order to destabilize their power grids. That might be a good way to.
We don't want them making Bitcoin though.
Yeah. Okay. So I found the
unless they sell it to people who actually understand it.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I just had the tweet and then I lost it. Yeah. So here's Denver Bitcoin. So he says up to 20% of total Bitcoin hash rate still in China and operating illegally. I imagine another crackdown before the end of the year is imminent. Wouldn't be the first time China banned Bitcoin twice in the same year. So, I mean, if that's true, this is what I'm, speculating on. And when I'm speculating on hash rate, I'm thinking short term. I'm not talking about like a long term drop.
Yeah.
Be another short drop. But yeah. Man, 1 million sats a day. That's amazing.
There's another shout out to Ephesians. Somebody, I forget what the context was, but people were talking about Christmas. And he said, all I want for Christmas is a downward difficulty adjustment. I thought that was pretty good.
Oh, we're going to get one. Did we?
We just had what was
no, yeah, we just had one.
What was that one? Like -1% or something like
it was
that?
something small.
Yeah, it was like -1.5 or something like that. Like, I'm really not that excited about that. Like,
yeah,
you give me a downward difficulty adjustment of like 7 or 10%. Now that's a miner's wet dream.
yeah,
So that's nice. But yeah, 1%, it's basically flat, which is nice. It is what it is. I'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Max, I like your comment. FYI, there's snow on the ground here while my kitchen floor is 82 degrees. Thank you, A6. So I'm assuming you've got some stuff running in a crawl space or something like that.
I love it. Yeah. I told people that the other a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, yeah, when snow comes, I love sipping my coffee in the morning. There's like 6 inches of snow on the ground. I'm in shorts, no shirt, in my kitchen drinking. Bare feet, 82 degrees on the kitchen floor.
I've got a good friend of mine in a cold place is helping him a little bit with. He's going to set miners in the basement, and he was doing it just as wanted to mine whatever. And I told him I was like, do you think about what this is going to do for your heating costs? And he goes, what do you mean? I was like, he's like, is it going to go up? I was like, no, it's going to go way the fuck down. I was like, you're going to have. I'm not saying how many miners he's going to do, but he's got a good number. He's going to do all new gen, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you're going to have this many, like, gigantic, just absolutely massive hair dryers just pumping out super hot air in your basement. I was like, and that air is going to float up through the house. I was like, you probably won't even have to turn on your heater. And I was telling him, like I remember Neil tweeted out a picture last winter, maybe the winter before, probably would have been last winter, of his house. It was like -8 degrees outside, and he had his front door and his back door open just so his house wouldn't get too hot. He had so much heat coming out of the crawl space.
That's amazing.
Like -8 degrees outside, and freaking front and back door wide open.
Yeah, they're insanely hot.
I'm not doing that good, but I will definitely dox my gas bill. Typically, in the summer, I pay the minimum like $10-15 for the meter, whatever it is. In the winter, it's like usually $120, $150, depending on how hot I run that. I just got my gas bill. It's obviously, November, October, November, it's cold. The minimum is like $12 or whatever it is. I'm like, oh, let's see what my gas bill is this month. $25.
Nice.
That's sick.
So most people don't think about that, but you do calculate your efficiency by using that waste heat. And my furnace only kicks on maybe 2-3 times a day, and only a fifth of the time that it would prior to having an ASIC or having a couple of ASICs run. So just calculating that in, I've saved at least $100 a month on my gas bill in the winter for that 6-month period, which is tremendous. So I can absolutely believe, whatever Neil was running at that point. Yeah, you have to, have some type of vent just to get rid of that excess heat. That's a lot to build up. Might as well use it.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was explaining to this friend of mine, as I was like, let's say, these miners, let's say you're spending $600 a month on power. You're sending that to your electric company, but if it reduces your heating bill by $150, you're effectively only spending $450 to run those miners, that month. And so it's like that, because it's like, yeah, just improves your profitability in a little bit of a roundabout way that some people don't necessarily consider right off the bat.
Shout out to Dennis. That dude's pissing people off.
Which one? Dennis who?
58K. Dennis.
Oh yeah. I put a meme in Dirtbags. I'll retweet it, but it's somebody put his face on this little kid, and this little kid walks up to, so basically this lady's standing on a porch and she's filming, and this little kid walks up and somebody put Dennis's face on there, and she goes, and you're like, what's gonna happen? And then she starts screaming. She goes, "Get the fuck off my porch! Get off my motherfucking porch!" And she starts screaming at this little kid to get out of there. And then the little kid with Dennis's face, video photoshopped on, takes off running. It's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Get the fuck off my porch.
Dennis. That dude's a legend.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What an amazing prediction. Sticking with it through thick and thin. What a boss. Yeah, we've been at 50K, 8K for a while. The dollar's looking strong.
That's that dollar milkshake theory from Brent. What's his name? Brent Johnson.
Yeah, Santiago.
Yeah.
I haven't followed that guy for a while.
He's a little annoying, but I think he's right about the dollar milkshake thing.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say it's a little annoying. He's very annoying.
Well, I don't think that. Okay, so first of all, measuring the dollar, the only good measurement of the dollar is the dollar against Bitcoin. Because, gold is so heavily manipulated, and, the typical measurements that people use are things like the DXY, which takes a basket of currencies that are getting devalued at the same rate, if not faster, than the dollar. So these little movements up and down the DXY, mean nothing. Ultimately, it's like the euro; they're devaluing that so fast, as well as the Swiss. Oh, dude, that was really sad seeing that 61 or 62% of Switzerland voted for vax passports.
Really?
Vax passports.
Gross.
Yeah, Catherine Austin Fitz was out there campaigning against it, and they lost. That's why. Yeah.
I know somebody who is in the process of getting out of a. They're a little bit separated, so they haven't been quite as exposed as a lot of other people in the medical community, but getting out of a medical role, and has what I think is a really fantastic business lined up that'll be 100% of the income in Bitcoin, no dollars whatsoever, and lives in an area where selling Bitcoin for cash is trivial, very, very, very easy to do. And I'm like, dude, you're about and I mean, this is somebody that I, taught a little bit about Bitcoin too and things like that. And I'm like, most of my income still comes in dollars. Once you get this going, you're going to be ahead of me. This is going to be fantastic. But it's they basically have their income fully in Bitcoin and then just sell a little bit for actual physical cash as they need to. And I'm 99% sure it's going to work out. It's pretty well finalized. It looks really good.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, for all the people out there, I promised earlier I would shit on conservatives.
Oh, yeah.
For all the people out there that think that democracy is a great thing, that's a perfect example of it not being a good thing. If you put these things up to a vote, you're going to lose. Anybody that's on the side of freedom is ultimately going to lose, because the state will have these promises, and they control the media, and the media has a lot of power. And when I say the media, I'm talking about, not just your typical corporate media, but even, a lot of the independents, because you don't get a lot of people out there that aren't complete statists. We're an extreme minority here of people that are not, just diehard statists. I mean, this idea of we're going to get our guy into power. So, first of all, the last conservative, and Trump wasn't, your typical conservative, but the last conservative in power was Trump. He hated Bitcoin. He loved the Fed. He did a bunch of military spending. He was par for the course on a lot of these issues in accelerating the complete destruction of our society and communities through the debasement of the currency as well as other issues. President before him, George Bush, Patriot Act, 9/11, helped, with the whole 2008 debacle. I mean, like, this idea of like everything's going to be better if we get a conservative in power. Like it's almost better if the Democrats are in power because people see how illegitimate the state is, because there's not like this, appeasement of, we're not going to teach, we're going to go out there and do a bunch of military spending and bomb the shit out of Yemen and create a humanitarian crisis and, do all these awful things and, be the state and use violence. But we're not going to teach critical race theory in schools. Like, yeah.
Well, there's so many conservatives that are totally cucked on vaccines too.
Yeah.
Like some of the worst people on vaccines that I know were Trump supporters.
Yeah.
I'm like, these people literally hate you. That's what I told one of them. I was like, do you understand that the people that you're supporting and the people that you're like actually advocating for with this vaccine bullshit, do you understand that they would literally put you in a camp if they could? Literally. Like they would put you on a train car. Like you think, I mean, it's just like all these, take your pick. I don't know, like these lunatic AOC and crew, like if these people had total control, of everything and they had the option to round up Trump supporters and send them to a camp, like if they could get their hands on the voting register or something like that, like this idea that they would not do that, I think is totally insane. Like these are absolutely delusional, power-hungry people. Yeah, no, that's a good point, Don. Most conservatives are just hardcore rule followers. It is, I almost have, I don't know who I have more disdain for, but I have a lot of disdain for these just cucks. I hate losers. I can't stand being around losers. I can't stand being around like these like pathetic people with the victim mindset. And most conservatives are just absolute, just fucking losers. They have lost their entire life. They lost the total culture war. All they've been doing is whining about, the left is doing this and drag queen story hour and school boards and critical race theory and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, what the fuck are you doing? You're not doing anything. You're watching Fox News. You're posting bullshit on Facebook and you're calling it a day. Like, go fuck yourself. I don't care what happens to you.
Yeah. No, they say all the time that conservatives are just progressives driving the speed limit. And I mean, I think that's a great, I mean, we have to get to a place where people realize like the state is evil and shouldn't be allowed to exist.
Yeah.
Like it is one of the most evil institutions.
Literally run by satanic pedophiles.
Yeah.
And that's who these people are supporting when they say like, oh yeah, I voted for Trump, but I'm not crazy. I support the vaccine mandate. It's like they have this need to fit in and to, I don't know what it is. It's total cuck mentality.
Well, I mean, it's super. Go ahead.
Oh no, it is really, really bothering me now that they are changing the narrative, definitions, phrasing, however you want to define it. Look at the details on like pedophilia and shit like that. Like that's really fucked up.
Yeah.
They're somehow justifying that stuff, and then even more details. Your average normal sheep will not believe you when they tell you, well, you do realize that the people that are actually in the hospitals, which is only like 18 or 20 of them, like in the Toronto area or something, whatever that stat came out a couple of days ago, like all of them are vaccinated people. And then on top of that, going over to Australia, and same thing for here in the States, in the House and Senate. All of the politicians are exempt from getting the vaccine. And they just don't believe you. You give them this information, you show them charts and say, well, that's not real. The prime minister would, of course, go get his shot. Don't you see? His son got the shot. And it's like, they're changing the narratives on pedophilia and shit like that. they're doing the imaginary jab. I love the picture of I think it was the Indian guy or Texas or whoever it was.
I saw that.
It was, there's literally nothing in the nurse's hand, and he's putting his thumb up. And all of the people in the hospitals are vaccinated. And then the politicians are the ones that are exempt from getting the shot. So it's like, this is true. Gun world isn't even a good definition anymore. This is true. I really don't even know what word. This is true Satanism.
Well,
and it's like peak finest.
And two other examples that, that I thought, so if you know Claire Lehman, she did that Quillette magazine, which before was, that was like what did they call it? The intellectual dark web, like, Sam Harris, I think they put Joe Rogan in there, Weinstein brothers, anyway, and who were like, she had this magazine that supposedly was like counter the mainstream narrative or whatever, and she's been on a fight with Tim Pool where she's talking about how like these camps in Australia are not that bad, and she's like posting, she's like, look, there's pictures on Instagram of fitness models posting pictures from there and talking about how it's a nice vacation, and it's like, we literally have videos of the Australian military going to indigenous community and like relocating people and pulling them out and like taking everything and like doing all this under gunpoint. And it's like, people like her, Scott Adams is another one who can absolutely go fuck himself immediately. Like, this is a guy who, he was a Trump guy. He was all this kind of stuff. And, supposedly on the other side of it. And now he's just one of the leading, he's just been on this vaccine mandate. And it's like, you're totally selfish and don't deserve health care if you don't get this. Like the thing. And that's what I think a lot of people are slowly waking up to, is that it's a power struggle and it's a power game. It's not like when I hear people talk about, well, actually the statistics are, or, the data says, or reading the study on, vaccine effectiveness, and it's just like, get the fuck out of here. Like, wake up. Like, this is a power struggle. Your data is irrelevant. Your facts are irrelevant. Like, none of that matters whatsoever at all. Like, this is like the specifics of it related to COVID or whatever that's like kind of a minor interesting detail. Like, the end of the day, it's a great reset power struggle that they've been working on since at least 2001, probably a lot earlier than that. And I don't know. I can't, like, just kind of going back to like conservatives being absolutely pathetic losers. It's like, I can't resonate with it. I can't be around that energy. I can't listen to the people talk and just like whine and then actively support and fund their own oppression. And it's like, I don't know. You can either wake up or you can go fuck yourself. I don't care either way.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. It's, we're seeing this stuff happen in Australia, but we're seeing it happen here too in the United States, and it maybe not as drastic, but just the audacity of somebody like to argue, oh, the camps aren't that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, the lockdowns weren't that bad because they gave stimulus.
Yeah.
Or, the closing of businesses wasn't that bad because they gave triple P loans.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they have no authority to be doing this stuff and to be telling you what to do, in this regard. And it's very, very simple, like, how they do it. They just control the institutions. And like, I've been recently, I'm a Christian. I absolutely have been extremely disenchanted with churches over the past year. And I think the big reason why, when I'm coming to realize is like, even the clergy are status cucks that are tools, to prop up the system. And, there's a very small minority of clergy that are not that way, but it's like the educational system, the monetary financial system, the media. Like, even like, I love Tim Pool, but that guy's a statist.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's Mr. Go and vote these people out, and that's not productive in the slightest. Like, if you want to engage in politics, the most productive thing that you can do is go out there, go to your local recorder's office and unregister to vote.
Yeah.
Like, that's the productive thing to do with politics. And then, go in and find better things to do with your time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the conservatives, like, I mean, imagine supporting the police.
Yeah. Like who the fuck do you think is enforcing all this?
Yeah.
Or it's like you see my favorite is the guy with the the Second Amendment, don't tread on me, all that, and then also a thin blue line sticker. It's like, who the fuck do you think is gonna take your gun? Like, you think AOC is gonna show up and take your gun? No, it's gonna be the cop. That's who's gonna take your gun. And it's just like, I can't. Yeah. I don't know. I've already called them losers 11,000 times tonight, but they're losers.
And we have an incredible opportunity right now, to have this message, because every single person that the state goes out and abuses is a person that sees this. And most people don't know that this idea even exists, that you can live without the state and that you can do it and prosper more than under, the boot of the state. And I think that's extremely exciting. And so it's like the idea of like, we need to engage in civil disobedience. Like, first of all, that's kind of foolish thinking, because you're trying to, influence the government. It's the same idea as like going out and voting for the other guy, versus like just being non-compliant and trying to exit the system as much as possible and not have the state influence your life. Like that's something, different, but it's just, I think we have to be really, calculated with where we put our resources right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, influencing the state, I mean, it's like the minarchist idea is just like the silliest idea, that you can have a limited government. Like that, there's no such thing as a limited government, because as soon as you offer somebody, and you look at this as like the Stanford prison experiments. This is like a great example of it. As soon as you offer somebody a monopoly over violence, they're going to abuse it, and there's no way to limit it. And what happened in the Stanford prison experiment was that, these random people were taken off the streets. Some were assigned prisoners, some were assigned prison guards. And there were these horrible abuses that were committed against the prisoners that were their peers, that had done nothing wrong and were just there for an experiment. And that's what the state does. That's what, and the idea of like, okay, we're going to get this person in a position of power, so that they're going to, go and, unwind the state or end the Fed or, do this or that. It's like, they're probably not going to, first of all, there's this entire power structure. Like, even if you get somebody that's pure of heart, like Ron Paul, there's this entire power structure built against you. You're competing with a billion lemmings out there that are going to vote against you.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, once the majority of people have a taste of power, they're going to use it and they're going to benefit. It's like, oh, I can get my kids, a job at Pfizer making $7 million a year. I can get my crackhead son, massive loans with the Chinese government and, running pipelines in Ukraine or whatever. Like, how can you resist that? I mean, we see that with shit coining now, or like all it takes is somebody to, get offered a lump of money and they're,
Zorn says the Billing Lemming March.
Yeah. Shout out to the, I think the perfect example of the Billion Lemon March is like, there have been protests at college campuses for not having vaccine mandates over the past year.
For not having vaccine mandates? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, fucking sheep.
Yeah. No, that's, yeah. I've got money set aside so that my kids do absolutely whatever they want with education, but God, I hope college does exist by the time they're 18. I hope I don't know. I'm already talking to them about like how important it is to have multiple, different ways of making money and run your own business. Like I'm doing everything I can to push them in that direction for sure.
Yeah.
Just like, you think anybody's going to give a fuck about a bachelor's degree in 10 years? Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to matter. There's not going to be anybody working.
Yeah.
The bachelor's degree and stuff like that doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, like, I guess, final thought before we start wrapping up is just like, I think one of the big things is, and what I'm trying to do more and more of is really be careful with who I give my attention to.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get away from the statist media as much as possible. And like the Tim Pool podcast is great, and he has a lot of great people on. It's very entertaining, but it's just, it's statist media essentially at the end of the day. And so, Liberty Under Attack Productions or something like that is a really good one. I hope our show is one. There's a lot of good media out there that's a little bit more difficult to find. And I think it's like, do you want to give your energy to Peter McCormick or do you want to give your energy to Eric Kaysen?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, is what it comes down to. And that attention is extremely valuable. So yeah, big thank you to everybody that tunes in to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a good time.
And it's just, for your mental health too, and just getting indoctrinated day after day, being told to go vote in primary politicians. It's like,
yeah. And I totally agree with Don. Tim Pool sucks. However, the recent Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Michael Malice episode is worth listening to. It's and very entertaining, if nothing else. Especially because Malice nukes this guy. There's some guy on there he calls him Sean Hannity because this guy's like goes on this big long rant about the value of the American Constitution and we must return to our roots as a, whatever, all this just boomer nonsense. And he goes, and the guy goes, and Michael Malice goes, yeah, the Constitution is boomer bullshit. And the guy goes, wow, you think the does the whole just like upspeak, the whole just annoying pile of shit. Mike Mouse is like, yes, it's nonsense, it's worthless, it's literally toilet paper, and blah 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 blah. But it's a good one. It's worth checking out.
Yeah, that one was fun. Yeah, Michael Malice called him Mr. Constitution.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like going back to this shitting on conservatives. I guess this is my last point. Unless somebody gets me riled up again, but I mean, it's like returning back to what,
right?
Is all like this. The United States has never been, a bastion for liberty, unless you're closer to the regulator or the printing press.
George Washington threw people in jail for criticizing the government.
Well,
like this whole idea that we started somewhere amazing and it's like, well, and that's the other thing that pissed me. I got an argument about this on Twitter this week. Is this guy was talking about how important like the founding documents are and the founding fathers, and we need to know our history, and that's why America was successful. And I was like, motherfucker, America was successful because it has the greatest geography advantage of any piece of dirt on the face of the earth. That's, you want to figure out, because America had an undeniable success, no question about it. It wasn't because, a bunch of slightly more enlightened than other people assholes wrote some shit down on paper 250 years ago. It's because it was this brand new experiment in a totally brand new wilderness, and for a huge part of the history, it was completely ungovernable. Like you think, as recently as 1900, you think people were controlling what was going on in what is now Arizona or something like that? No, it's like places. There's a huge parts of the country that were completely ungovernable and completely more or less outside of the scope of the state. And it's, they had problems getting killed by Native Americans, things like that. But you know what? They were there first. Like, so, it doesn't bother me too much. And it's like just to attribute all of that to, 37 dudes writing shit on paper. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you got your history. That's why I told the guy, I was like, you got your history straight from public school. You need to read some books, man.
Yeah, I was in this Spaces and I almost blew a gasket a couple months ago when somebody said that we don't have a good frame to protect private property without the state. And this is like, yeah, the United States did a great job of protecting the Native Americans' private property, right? I mean, it's just, there's no return. I mean, you just go back like 50 years to the Vietnam War and what was happening there. I mean, or before that, like the Great Depression, and I mean, it's just our art history is not, you know, great. And like the woke love to, you know, just come up with like silly ideas, but there is some truth to this idea of like these people were writing down on pieces of parchment that all men were created equal, but then they had slaves and they're like, except for these ones.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like just some insane, like, no, I mean, there's a good book called oh gosh, it's about why the Constitution was stupid. Yeah, I mean, what it comes down to at the end of the day is it's not like everybody in the United States agreed to the Constitution, first and foremost. And then none of us had the ability to go and agree Constitution. Yeah. And there's this idea of a social construct, which is just complete and utter trash. Like, we have not given explicit consent, and we definitely have not given tacit consent. And a lot of us don't consent, period. Like, openly do not consent to the system. Like, I do not consent to taxation in the form that it is. And I definitely don't consent to, you know, all the other bullshit that the federal government's doing. Like, I am not in support of the war in Yemen right now and the murder of millions of people. And, you know, I mean, man, go listen to Scott Horton podcast on that right now, and you hate the state more than you do now. It's insane.
Last thing I'll say, and then I need to head out too. But Francis Pulio this week, he had a tweet that said how long, or basically making the point that that I'm just doing my job argument. It's like, is that really that much different from I'm just paying my taxes? And it's like, I mean, where the fuck are they getting? Well, first of all, where are they getting the money? They're printing most of it, but it's undeniable, like what tax leads to and how much death, misery, and destruction it leads to. It's just something to think about.
Yeah. It's a good argument for a moral imperative to go and spend Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Get out there. Get out to the local business. Get them to accept Bitcoin. Be like Michael Atwood and Brian Harrington.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Love you guys, as always. December 9th, Christmas party at Orange County. If you're available and interested, I'll be there for sure.
Yep. Presented by Dirtbags Bar. Best place to meet your future ex-wife.
That's
and
right.
Our new sponsor of the show. We dumped Dennis Porter. It's no longer presented by Dennis Porter. But if you want to have fun staying poor, go over to Kraken and buy some Shiba Inu.
Yep. And just go over. What you want to do is you're going to want to open a 50x long on Shiba Inu, because Kraken will let you do that, because they are, you know, they're fighting for freedom. They're doing that. They might not enable Lightning, but they can enable a 50x long on Shiba Inu. So props to them doing the Lord's work.
Yeah. Good job to Kraken. All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.